one of the most influential and controversial figures in rock and entertainment history. From founding heavy metal with Black Sabbath, becoming a pop culture icon, his career spans over 5 decades and multiple generations. Over Ozzy's long career, he would go to sell over 100 million albums and win just about every award imaginable. This is the story of how a working-class family in Birmingham gave birth to the Prince of Darkness. John Michael Osbourne was born on December 3rd, 1948, and grew up in Aston, Birmingham, England, a heavily industrialized area recovering from the effects of World War II. The son of a toolmaker and a factory worker, Osbourne had a huge family with 5 other siblings. He struggled academically due to undiagnosed dyslexia and was bullied in school relentlessly. Struggling to fit in, he would join school plays, and at the age of 14, was introduced to the Beatles, which led him to a lifelong love of music. At the age of 15, Ozzy left school and held various odd jobs: construction site laborer, trainee plumber, apprentice toolmaker, car factory horn tuner, and fittingly, slaughterhouse worker. At the age of 17, he was convicted for robbing a clothes store, but was unable to pay the fine. His father also refused to pay the fine to teach him a lesson. And for the first time of many, Ozzy would spend time in jail, 6 weeks in Winson Green Prison. In 1968, Osbourne joined guitarist Tony Iommi, bassist Geezer Butler, and drummer Bill Ward to form a band initially called Earth. They soon changed their name to Black Sabbath, drawing inspiration from a really obscure Italian horror film anthology and the occult to stand out in a crowded blues rock scene that was dominating England at the time. Black Sabbath would release their debut album, titled Black Sabbath, in early 1970. Sabbath would pioneer a darker, heavier sound that laid the foundation for what is now known as heavy metal. Many believe their music to be tied to the occult and satanic, but they were actually quite religious. While recording their first album, Butler read an occult book and apparently woke up seeing a dark figure at the end of his bed. The story is that Butler then told Ozzy about it, and together they wrote the lyrics to the self-titled track, Black Sabbath, which would be their first song in a darker vein. Their second album, Paranoid, in late 1970, would go on to include tracks like Iron Man and War Pigs. Both of these tracks would later become some of the most notable songs in heavy metal history and would be at the top of Ozzy's discography. It's also around this time that Ozzy would meet his future wife, Sharon. After the unexpected success of their first album, Black Sabbath were considering their father, Don Arden, as their new manager. As Black Sabbath gained international fame, the pressures of constant touring and recording led to widespread substance abuse all throughout the band. Ozzy has openly admitted how problematic his own drug and alcohol use would become. He claims to have taken LSD all day, every day, for 2 years. It would get to the point where the drug and alcohol use would get in the way of Black Sabbath's productivity, and in 1979, after a decade of success, Ozzy was fired from Black Sabbath. This would send Ozzy into a deep depression, and he would lock himself away in a hotel room for days on end without ever being seen. After his departure, apparently Ozzy spent 3 months alone in a hotel room. During this time, Ozzy would put anything into his body that he could find: drugs, alcohol, or whatever else it was. It was obvious that he was going down a very dangerous path, and change was needed. His now wife, Sharon, would take him under management and launch a solo career. Ozzy claims that if Sharon had not intervened, he most likely would have died. In his autobiography, Ozzy detailed a time when he was invited to a meeting in 1981 with the head of CBS Europe in Germany. Ozzy obviously showed up heavily intoxicated, so he decided to lighten the mood by performing a striptease on the table and then kissing the record executive on the lips. Unfortunately, according to his wife, and at the time manager, Sharon, he had actually performed a goose step up and down the table and urinated in the executive's wine. Ozzy was too drunk to remember. This would be the first of many drunken issues that Ozzy would have. More on those later. In 1980, under the management of Sharon, he released his debut album, Blizzard of Oz, featuring guitarist Randy Rhoads, who would absolutely redefine Osbourne's sound and completely revitalize his career. The album included tracks such as Crazy Train and Mr. Crowley, which are absolutely legendary today. It was certified quadruple platinum by 1997. Blizzard of Oz is one of the few albums among the 100 bestsellers of the 1980s to have achieved multi-platinum status without the benefit of a top 40 single. Ozzy's second solo album, Diary of a Madman, was released in 1981. The album is known for the singles Over the Mountain and Flying High Again, and has the distinction of being Ozzy's personal favorite, as he explained in his autobiography. Ozzy's success of the 1980s would continue into 1991 with the release of No More Tears, which featured a song, Mama, I'm Coming Home, that would go on to be Ozzy's last song ever performed in front of a live crowd. We'll get to that at the end of the video. Ozzy would win a Grammy in 1994 for Best Metal Performance for the release I Don't Want to Change the World. On March 19, 1982, tragedy struck when Randy Rhoads died in a plane crash while on tour. A light aircraft piloted by Andrew Aycock, the band's tour bus driver, carried Randy Rhoads and Rachel Youngblood, the band's costume and makeup designer. The plane crashed while performing low passes over the band's tour bus. The left wing of the aircraft flipped the bus, causing the plane to graze a tree and crash into the garage of a nearby mansion. Ozzy witnessed this horrific death firsthand and fell into a deep depression. The tour was canceled for 2 weeks, and they scrambled to find somebody who could possibly replace Randy Rhoads. The tour culminated in the release of the 1982 live album, Speak the Devil, recorded at the Ritz in New York City, as an immediate tribute to Randy Rhoads. A live tribute album for Rhoads titled Tribute was also later recorded and released in 1987. Ozzy's career has been filled with controversy. Arguably, it's why most people know him. In 1982, he accidentally bit the head off of a live bat during the performance in Des Moines, Iowa. He says that he believed it was a toy. According to a 2004 Rolling Stone article, the bat was very much alive at the time. However, the fan that threw it on the stage brought it to the show believing that it was dead. The bat had been disoriented due to all of the lights and pyro and craziness that was Black Sabbath in 1982. According to the booklet in the 2002 release of Diary of a Madman, the bat was not only alive, but also bit Ozzy, and he was treated for rabies. Ozzy would make the best of this situation and go on to turn it as a part of his brand. In 2019, he commemorated the 37th anniversary of the bat incident by offering a Ozzy plush bat toy with a detachable head for sale. He was also criticized for urinating on the Alamo cenotaph while wearing Sharon's dress after binge drinking in 1984. In 1984, Ozzy would also face legal challenges over the song Suicide Solution, because people believed that it was a call to action, though Ozzy maintained that it was very much a cautionary tale. Ozzy would be sued again for basically the same thing in 1991, but yet again the courts would rule in Ozzy's favor. In 1981, after signing his first solo record deal, Ozzy would bite the head off of a dove during a meeting with a CBS record executive in LA. Apparently, this is really a part of his brand. He had planned to release doves into the air as a sign of peace, but Ozzy, being Ozzy, was drinking, so instead he grabbed a dove out of the air and bit its head off. He would then spit the head out, with blood still dripping from his lips, and be carried out by security. To prove that he was really for real, Ozzy grabbed a second dove out of the air and bit its head off. These controversies reinforced his image as a rebellious and unpredictable figure, but also helped cement his legend in pop culture. In the early 2000s, Ozzy gained a new audience through the MTV reality show The Osbournes. This would offer an unfiltered look into his family life and would absolutely revolutionize the way that reality TV was done. It would be unfiltered, it would be mostly unedited, and a lot would go to air. There are absolutely a ton of clips from this show online that are just really weird. So I'm going to take a second to include some of them here.
Hi, darling.
Someone has been in my room and taken my beers away from my room.
I don't think so, darling. Who would do that? Who could possibly do that? Who's the beer thief? You. You're the beer thief.
You want to rinse out? You want to rinse out?
No.
No? Why don't you take a rinse? I think it'll feel better.
I will not have dope smoked in my house or drugs of any time in my fucking house. Quit this fucking smoking this shit, because it ain't gonna lead to anywhere but bad places. Look at me.
I don't drink because I like, crave it. I don't smoke pot because I crave it. I do it because I choose to do it.
Yet. Who pissed on my fucking carpet? That bastard fucking dog, man. I'm gonna throw it in the fucking pool. Fucking terrorist. It's fucking part of Bin Laden's gang.
The series would go on to win a 2002 Primetime Emmy Award for an outstanding reality program. Again, it's largely regarded as the pioneer to early reality TV, and would go on to introduce Ozzy and his family to an entirely new daytime television demographic. Ozzy would confirm in an interview on BBC Radio 2 in May 2009 that he was, quote, stoned during the entire filming of The Osbournes, end quote, which makes a lot of sense. But that's why he will not watch any of the episodes. I guess makes sense when someone's stealing your beers. Ozzy would continue to appeal to a newer generation of music with the creation of Ozzfest, which first launched in 1996 and would go on to run basically every year after. Ozzfest was an instant success, largely benefiting the up-and-coming groups that were opening for these large names like Black Sabbath. Ozzy would main event every single show and would become the first rock star to hit $40 million in merch sales. In 2005, Ozzy would step down from main eventing the Ozzfests due to his health, although he would still go on to appear at the events. Unfortunately for Ozzy, this would also mark the beginning of a long story of the battle for his health. He was officially diagnosed with a genetic form of Parkinson's in 2003, which he only revealed publicly as of 2020. He would have a few hospitalizations in 2019 and 2020 due to breathing issues, and in 2020 he was diagnosed with emphysema. These would go on to cause show cancellations and show reschedules, and this would become a part of Ozzy's later career. On July 5th, 2025, Black Sabbath would reunite in Birmingham, England, for one last show, titled Back to the Beginning. This was the first time since 2005 that the original lineup shared the stage. Unfortunately, Ozzy had lost the ability to walk due to his advanced Parkinson's, but he sat in a throne of darkness to deliver the performance of a lifetime to 45,000 fans packed in Villa Park, just very close to where Black Sabbath was originally founded. The concert was streamed online for pay-per-view as well, and all of the proceeds from the event went to various charities. In total, Ozzy would raise £140 million. On the morning of July 22nd, 2025, 17 days after the Back to the Beginning show, Ozzy would pass away at the age of 76. Ozzy Osbourne's influence on modern music and entertainment cannot be understated. He helped define a genre, inspired generations of musicians, and challenged cultural expectations surrounding rock and the performance, the image associated. Whether remembered for his distinctive vocal style, controversial moments, or perseverance through personal and physical adversity, Ozzy Osbourne remains a towering figure in music history. Without Ozzy, our music and entertainment would not look the same. At the time of recording, Ozzy has only recently passed, and his legacy is honored by the tributes of various artists from all different genres, and his legacy leaves a lasting impact of positivity. In his autobiography, I Am Ozzy, he says, quote, "Hating people isn't a productive way of living, so what's the point of hating in anyone? There's enough hate in the world as it is, without me adding to it." If you want to hear more music history, please consider subscribing. Also, please hit that like button, because I think if you watch this long, you probably enjoyed the video. And let me know in the comments below who you would like me to go over next, or if you have any other topics that you'd like to know the history of. I'd ultimately like to get to making more YouTube videos. Keep an eye out, and make sure you hit that bell icon so that way you're notified whenever I post. If you want to check out my music, you can find me on all major music streaming platforms under the name Era V1. New music is constantly going out. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you sticking along this far. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!